should have the other meetings at 6, and that's kind of early, especially
Yeah.
for summer. But
We can change that. We
Okay.
can change that.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I can send out like a doodle poll and see what times are work best for you for meetings. Is there anyone who's not in Mountain Time Zone? Or is everyone in Mountain Time? I'm not seeing anyone who is not in Mountain Time. Well, I guess I'm the only one because I live in Washington State, so I'm on Pacific Time, so everything I do is an hour earlier. But I'm actually in Utah at the moment because my daughter's getting married day after tomorrow. So what you're seeing behind me is my father-in-law's books.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So yes. Yeah, my father-in-law is a farmer. He was a dairy farmer, but he sold his cows and now he farms hay and does very well. He's 82 years old, turning 83 next month, and still farming a couple hundred acres. So, all right, who hasn't? Buck, I guess it's your turn.
All right, so can you all see me?
Yeah.
Okay. I did something and now I can't see myself, but as long as you can see me, then we should be good. So I started teaching for BYU Idaho in the spring of, well, I guess it was, they call it winter semester in 2016. And let's see, really memorable thing. I've been run over and hit by a car. Well, run over by a trencher and hit by a car.
Oh.
And so I guess that's memorable, right? Not everybody's been able to do that. So what else was I supposed to say? Is that it?
That was something that's pretty unique. We'll remember you for that.
Okay.
All right. And Tracy, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself? Are you there? Tracy?
She probably has to chat. Looks like she's been chatting.
Yeah, probably. So, all right, well, then we'll move on. And so gone through the introductions, and then I want to do more of an introduction icebreaker thing with the discussion. We just lost somebody. Who did we lose? We lost Tracy and we lost Julie. Oh my goodness. Where did they disappear to? Hopefully they will come back. That's odd. Okay, well, I was going to share my screen for both you and Donna and Buck. We can still keep going for a little bit, see if these others... Oh, Julie's back. We lost you. Tracy's back. Ah, there we go. Tracy, can you go ahead and do your introduction now? Introduce yourself to us. Tracy?
Hi. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're having internet issues here. So
okay, I'm sorry.
Apologize about that. So I have been with BYU Idaho since 2009. And I'm trying to think of something memorable, but they're real, I don't know. I'm not terribly memorable or terribly unique. I remember that when I have a daughter who's 8, and I remember that one of the first few classes that I taught for BYU Idaho, I was pregnant with her, and I remember answering email in the delivery room, but I don't know.
You were working in the delivery room.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I think the thing we can remember about you is you've been around forever. Well, in relative terms, longer than any of us. I know I've worked with you before in my capacity as OCR, so you have a lot of experience, and we can definitely benefit from that. Okay, well, I wanted to have make sure that you participate in this online instruction thing. Has anyone had any trouble? Who did I just lose? I just lose. Tara's here. Hi, Tara.
Hi.
You made it. So good to see you. I'm so happy to see you. What we've been doing up to this point is just doing some brief introductions. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, just tell us something, maybe how you got into this with BYU Idaho, and something that's memorable enough that we will never forget it, and that we'll never forget about you.
Oh, great. Okay. So I got into BYU Idaho. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just my second child was 1 year old, and I felt ready to do one more thing, So, so I've been doing this for 8 years. It's awesome. And let's see, something that you will never forget about me. I don't know if you won't forget it, but I love playing racquetball. It's just my new favorite sport to play, and it's a nice, safe environment for me because it's all walls. Like the ball can't go out too far. So I don't know. That's one of my new passions that I love.
I'm not sure how I feel about racquetball because I have this fear of balls coming toward me and hitting me.
Yeah.
And it came from when I was in junior high and we played a game that they called war ball. Some call it dodgeball, but we call it war ball, where basically you line up on opposite sides of the gym, have these fairly heavy balls, and try to throw them as hard as you can and hit people on the other side. And if you're hit, then you go out. Kind of like the Hunger Games, last week.
Except no one's killed. Yeah.
Yeah, that game traumatized me as a 13, 14-year-old. To this day, I have this fear of objects coming towards me. Anyway, I digress. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Thanks for popping in tonight.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So anyway, I wanted to share with you, make sure that all of you have found our online instruction community page. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick, if I can. And hopefully all of you have been able to find it. So I'm going to share my screen, desktop 1, and then I'm going to go back here. Can you see? Okay, I'm not sharing my screen. Let's see if it looks like we're looking at you, Tara. There we go. All right. So you have the BYU online instruction community, which is online.ning.com. Whoops. Have all of you found that? Has anyone not found that? Come on.
Be honest, I get confused. It's like so many online different whatever things that it's like, I know I signed up for all of them at the beginning. And, but yeah.
Okay, well, let's go back here. Okay, so I sent a link in the agenda, but this is our online instruction community page, and I have a welcome. There we go. Hopefully now you should be able to see. So I have a welcome, and then there's below it is the spring 2018 icebreaker. And this is our required asynchronous discussion that will take place all of next week. So like I said, the link is in your agenda, and it allows you to contact other members of our teaching group, and you can go directly to the forum.
So my link doesn't work. It says it's a security risk, and then when you go further, it says you want to I say yes, and it says cannot locate the internet server or proxy server. I wonder if I have to be logged in. Well, I am logged into BYU. Yes, that link did not work for me.
Oh, okay. Well, let me just see.
Why doesn't somebody else try it and see if it works for them?
Yeah, I want to just make sure you can
It's
get
the
there.
one beside the icebreaker, right?
Yeah.
Can anybody else get to it?
I'm going to put it into the chat. It's not, the chat doesn't want to do it. Look, hold on here. No, is anyone else getting to it or not?
I've got this on full screen, so I don't even know how to get there. How do we make this smaller? I'm not seeing how to minimize your screen.
As far as it within Zoom, there should be.
I know there should be some obvious way, and I've just got a huge screen. At the top of the screen, view options. Ooh, I see them. Thank you.
You can also, I think you can hit escape and it will shrink.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I exited my full screen. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I'm going to try once again to copy this into the.
Oh, it worked. It worked. It worked for if I copied and pasted it. Sorry.
Oh, good, good. No, it doesn't want to copy into the chat, so I'm going to quit trying that.
Yep.
No, anyway, I just wanted. Cool, cool. Well, I just wanted to get rid of that chat. Go away, chat. So, anyway, let's go back to our room. There we go. All right. So there's the forum page, and you can start sharing there. We have a list of the members with links. Oh, actually, we're only missing 2 people tonight. Colin, who told me he wouldn't be able to make it because of a kid's game, and Matthew. So we're doing really well. I'm so happy that you're. And so anyway, this is where you can find the forums and where we can interact. And I just want to make sure you're aware of this page. So in the last little bit that we have, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. The last bit, I wanted to have a kind of a roundtable discussion about what we do. All of us teach English. And, you know, when I first got this job, my wife's eyes glazed over because she just can't, she's not very impressed with the idea that of talking about literature or analyzing it. And then I came across this letter or this article that basically said that the humanities are dead, that there's no more purpose for the humanities, and colleges are, you know, dropping all of their English and other arts-related programs, just focusing on programs that will actually get you jobs. And so that's a good question, Tara. Why didn't everyone respond with the class that you teach? So we have a 252, 107. But anyway, so the question is, what is it that even makes this worthwhile? Why should we care about, you know, doing a formalist analysis of a poem and seeing, looking at the literary elements in that? Or why should we care about analyzing a short story through a Marxist lens of interpretation? Why should we even care about researching the historical background of a novel? Is there anything that makes this meaningful or ties it into the gospel? Is my big question that I want us to talk about for a few minutes. But let me say one more thing before I turn it over to you. And years and years ago, when I was a kid, I was grew up basically on the BYU campus. My father taught education, and we lived in Provo, and that was his job. Until his entire lifetime. He passed away 32 odd years ago. But so I lived on campus and was very involved in music productions. I sang a lot, the voice soprano, and I was in a number of operas, and I worked with the director of the opera department at BYU. At the time, his name was Clayne Robinson. And I will always remember Clayne kind of backing away from producing operas, and you'll see that BYU doesn't do much opera production anymore. I think they may do one a year, but one of the reasons Clayne backed away from it, and he told me this, he said, "I'm not sure if opera has a place in the kingdom anymore." And I know he was thinking about so many of the I guess he was thinking about, well, how many operas can I perform at BYU? Because of the nature of the plots of many of them might not be appropriate to perform at BYU. So what place? So that kind of gives you a background of. I'd like to get your thoughts. What does literature have a place in the kingdom? Does teaching literature have a place in the kingdom? And how do we teach through the Spirit when we're teaching Hemingway or Faulkner or thank you, Tara. All right. So what did you take away from the articles that you saw? 'Cause I haven't taken FD English Foundations of English 201. So what was your takeaway there?
They just shared that a lot of English majors do well in computer programming just because they already are thinking. You're already analyzing, and so analyzing and problem solving and creation within a paradigm. They're just so used to having rules and trying to make something beautiful within those rules that you do really well that way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other thoughts?
There was a really interesting article that made its rounds, probably about a week ago, that talked about Google. And Google had done a massive data analysis trying to figure out what made the perfect tech employee. And what they found was that it was the team building and the problem solving and the critical thinking, and that it wasn't necessarily the fluency in computer programming, or because they were computer science majors and they were trained in college, but it was really the employees who had the skills that you gain through learning the humanities, through learning literature, that made you a valuable employee, which I thought was really interesting.
Anyone else want to chime in?
I think the humanities make you a valuable citizen as well, especially in this day and age that we have, when we have so much information coming toward us, and some of that information can be very manipulative or even an outright lie. And I think having the skills where you can evaluate different sources and you can discern the point of view that different people have, and maybe you can even feel empathy towards people that think differently than you, but you can also have more skills in trying to determine what is really true and what isn't. I think all of these skills help us to be a citizen and to make right decisions and to guide our families into good ways. And having these skills, I think, are essential just towards living in our day and age.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Anyone else? What you made me think of, Julie, when you were saying that is something that a student of mine commented last semester, that they felt that what they were learning in my class, which is advanced research and literary analysis, is that they were tools that could also help them to analyze and understand scriptures better. I thought that was an interesting idea. And it's true. And you can approach the scriptures as literature, but in some ways that might be able to also help you parse the spiritual meaning of the text. And there's certainly a lot to look at in the Book of Mormon from a literary standpoint and literary analysis, a formalist analysis. There's been a lot of great stuff done with that, with chiasmus and other things, analyzing the literary forms and tying that back to ancient Hebrew poetry and all kinds of really cool stuff like that. But thank you, Tracy. Empathy is a big deal. So one other aspect of this, how do you deal with let's serve better. How do you guys, Colts, Buck, go ahead.
Thanks. I just barely figured out how to raise my hand.
Thank you.
So I think one of the things that is important, and this kind of goes along with what Julie was saying, is the humanity element, like the human element that comes from literature. I don't know if any of you seen, there's a really disturbing movie from a few years back called Taken with Liam Neeson in it, and I think it's my wife's least favorite movie on the planet. But one of the ideas behind it was that it's just business. The movie was about human trafficking, and the line that kept being repeated over and over again is it's just business. And I think along with the abundance of information and misinformation that we get bombarded with in this technological age, is a sense of isolation and kind of a disconnect that we feel from the people around us. And I think one of the blessings of literature is the chance that it gives us to empathize and to see situations and scenarios that are different from our own, and to not so much, speaking specifically of students, a lot of them come from a bubble, and they come from a place where they or maybe their family have deliberately kept them from facing some of the realities of the world and what the children of God are going through in it. And literature gives an opportunity to see those things, to feel them, and to hopefully develop some a little bit of charity for the struggles that the people around us are going through, so that everything isn't just about business and not just about the bottom line, but about the what people are going through and the relationships and whatnot.
Very thoughtful.
Couple thoughts.
I appreciate that, Buck. Thank you so much.
So I had to leave. I didn't leave, but I had to step away for just a second. So do you want me to make a comment on the literature?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, so this is a little different, but this is a quote. It was from, and I don't have the exact words. I'd have to go look it up. And I don't know if you like sci-fi or Orson Scott Card, but I do. And he said something in the foreword to his Maps in a Mirror, which is a collection of novellas, and I used some of those in my high school classes because they were short. And one of the things he said about sci-fi, which I thought, and it would apply to fantasy as well, that I thought was really insightful is it's one of the few genres where you can actually explore moral dilemmas without causing political upheaval or being politically correct, because you can deal, because all these books, and it's true of all reading and all literature, I think, they're pieces of life, and usually there's something to be learned from them. But in sci-fi, you can really explore some really serious things where in the real world, it'd be like talking politics to a neighbor when you vehemently disagree one with another. But with sci-fi, with different worlds, different rules, different settings, all of a sudden you're able to explore, what's at the heart, what the theme or the message or the moral or the something you can take away from the book itself. So that was my 2 cents worth.
Cool. Well, I have something I want to conclude with, but I'm not sure if quite concluded, because what you reminded me of, Donna, when you were just talking, was the fact that I'm sure, are all of you aware that the English department has a statement about their philosophy towards the titles which are chosen for students to study in BYU Idaho English classes, and why they're selected. And one of the reasons they do this is because, a number of the titles that are suggested or recommended are titles that, the question is, do they really meet the criteria of the 13th Article of Faith? And there's a lot of literature out there that is very depressing, that's nihilistic, that ends with death and tragedy, and have any of you had an experience with that? I see, Tracy, you did. So how did you deal with that, Tracy?
So I just had a conversation again with the student individually about why we read something that we may not enjoy. We talked about the difference between reading to analyze versus reading for entertainment. And usually I find it, if you explain and use the scriptures as an example, there are parts in the Book of Mormon that I find very depressing and quite nihilistic and just stark, right? Especially, as you get towards the end and, they're wiping one another out, and, it truly is horrific. But we learn something from that. And so we apply that lesson to the same thing to the literature.
Tracy, I will send that link to the English department page to everybody, so you can see their statement. Well, I wanted to talk about this because for me, in a role like this, I want to keep us focused on why we're doing what we're doing, so that we can maintain our own sense of passion and feeling for what we do. I'm sure that none of you would be teaching English or literature unless you felt some passion for reading and talking about literature. I don't think that you'd be teaching this. And so the question is, how do we remember why we do what we do, and why we want our students to connect with the literature that we're sharing with them, or that they're analyzing them. And I hope that as you proceed throughout the semester, that you can each find a way to help your students see the bigger picture, and not just, I've got to write a paper on this book and try and get an A, but hopefully they can see the bigger picture of the impact that literature can have. And that is extraordinarily important. I wanted to share my screen again, and I wanted to share with you, let's see if this will work now. Share screen. There we go. Can you see this where it says Lesson Note 1 from Brother Wadham? When I was young, I grew up in Provo, and My bishop and then my stake president and my home teaching companion was a BYU English professor named Richard Craycroft. He was a pretty big deal on campus. He was the preeminent scholar of Mormon literature, and he was a deeply inspiring man to me, a great mentor. And so I wanted to just read this quote to you. I know you can see it, but this was a great man, and this is what he said. I am a man of letters, a voracious reader who can state that, for me, as John writes, in the beginning was the Word. In addition to being my introduction to God and the plan of salvation of Jesus Christ, literature, sacred and profane, has been lifelong my education, my profession, my scholarly engagement, and my daily avocation. For me, good and great literature, when selected and read by the power of the Holy Ghost, aids Holy Writ in clarifying our mortal purposes, enabling a vision of our mortal and eternal course, and reinforcing our divinely focused humanity. Literature is thus one of the great gifts of God. I absolutely love that quote. He wrote that in a thing where Mormon scholars testify. And I wanted to just tell you a quick story. Well, thank you, Tara. Oh, Tracy, you knew Dick Craycroft? Awesome. Yeah, he's one of the most influential men in my life, and one of the reasons I teach English. That is so cool, Tracy. I'm glad to meet someone who actually knew him. He just lived like around the corner from us as I was growing up. But yes, and I'll send that quote too. I'll send a quote. But he passed away maybe 3-4 years ago. I actually was able to visit with him and his wife like 2 weeks before he passed away. And interestingly enough, one of the main topics of conversation was Orson Scott Card. And Orson Scott Card was a student of Craycroft's.
Awesome.
And yeah. And so that was interesting. And the quote that Craycroft said to me, that I'll always remember, that I've told Orson Scott Card this, is he said, if Scott writes more books like the Alvin Maker series, I'm going to have to be convinced that fantasy is the stuff of literature. And so there was definitely an Orson Scott. Yes, I'm glad that someone has read the Alvin books. Yeah. We could just go on and talk about Card, and I could digress, but I don't want to digress. And we only have a few minutes left. So is there any other thing that you would like to discuss tonight before we quit? Any questions you have? Any concerns? I know when I started out teaching a year ago, I was terrified of my TGL. I was terrified because they were going to come into my classroom and evaluate me, and that scared the heck out of me. I feel a little bit more comfortable now than I did before, but are there any concerns or questions that you have? Anything that I can do to be a better teaching group leader? Because I can understand it, or maybe you've been doing this so many years, it's like teaching group, whatever, got to do it just so that I check off the box, but who really cares? I want to, is there anything I can do to better make this something meaningful, rather than just this is what we're required to do? Oh, well, thank you, Tara. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. I actually did consciously do that. I said, okay, we're just going to meet. I'm not going to go through all that folderol. We're just going to go ahead and do this thing. And I agree. I wanted to meet with you right away so I could see you face to face, get to know you a little bit better. One thing I do in my classes, I don't know if you have time to do this, but I would certainly recommend it, is to, I know it's time consuming, but you can set up like a Google spreadsheet with times you're available for like 20 to 30-minute segments, and actually meet one-on-one with every student in your classes on Zoom, and actually talk to them one-on-one about how they're doing, and actually get to know them. And that's something that you might think about doing as well, to connect with your students. I'm not going to, you don't have to do this. It is a challenge to do it in a lot of ways, but for me, it's really helped me connect with my students, and I take information from their getting to know you discussion posts and make sure I have it there so I can talk to them and ask them about something where they live or something. So, but I do try to make connections with your, and yes, Tracy, you're right. You can do phone calls as well. I've done that on a few occasions. So let me let you guys have the last word, and then I'll ask someone to say a closing prayer. Any other questions? Any other suggestions you have for me, or any way that I can best serve you as teachers? Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much. Anyone have any other thoughts or suggestions before we close? Everyone is being very quiet. I see no raised hands. All right then. Well, if there's nothing else, then let's have a closing prayer. Tracy, would you offer that for us?
Yes. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful to be able to gather together and to share our thoughts and to support one another as we attempt to teach thy children at BYU, Idaho. We are so very grateful for the miracles of technology and for our ability to be involved in your great work. Please help us that we will be able to ask good questions and to be of help to one another as we serve our students this semester. And we are very grateful for Tim and all of his hard work. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Tracy. Well, have a good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and joining in tonight. I appreciate that so much.
Tim, can I ask you a question?
Yes, Donna, go ahead.
When everybody else goes, I mean, they can stay. I don't want to interrupt if somebody else wants to ask you something. So
go ahead, Donna.
So I was just going to let you know that my class is a pilot class.
Pilot in terms of just a new class, or a new class in Canvas, or? No,
not in Canvas. It's a new course. It's like, so it got redone in a different sort of way. So it was billed as being redone with a different text to match more of the course thing, but the whole thing basically is not even the same. So it's so I am meeting weekly with the developer and the the course council meeting, I guess. Well, no, because it's not. But anyway,
are you an OCR?
I am, and so we meet every week and we go over this. And I just go up on campus because I just live in Rexburg. But and so the class, it's got some links. The kids are going to be asking things like we're already making changes as we go, and so. Just so you know, when you go in there, it's not going to be quite,
Okay.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you.
All right, have a good night. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.